I'm sure all of you are quite aware of just how busy combat sports can be. Physical violence is a subject that the news naturally loves, and so sporting industries built upon seeing professional fighters go at it obviously attract a lot of attention from these news outlets. It can be rather difficult to keep up with everything that's happening all at once, but have no fear, because in today's video, we're going to be running through the top stories from the last few weeks. First up, McGregor is frustrated by disrespect. One of the biggest stories that continue to pass around the UFC news circles is the rumored comeback of Conor McGregor, with the overriding theory being that the Irishman is going to be making his grand return to the world of mixed martial arts by challenging for the UFC Welterweight Championship. The suggestion that McGregor could skip the line and instantly find himself in contention for a world championship, despite his rather mixed recent fortunes within the UFC, has led to equally mixed reactions from those within the industry. It's worth remembering that McGregor's history as a champion doesn't exactly inspire confidence, as despite usually seeing spectacular roads to becoming champion, both of his last title reigns ended due to McGregor forfeiting them because he simply wouldn't defend them. Dana White, obviously aware of how big a draw McGregor is, has called anyone who sees a problem with the Irishman returning to an instant title shot an idiot, as despite McGregor's difficulties, he still remains by far the biggest moneymaker the entire UFC has. Conor himself has hit back at those who doubt his claim to a championship bout, declaring that enough is enough with the disrespect that comes my way during an interview with The Mac earlier this year, and the welterweight champ himself is someone that he'll be desperate to beat some respect out of. Kamaru Usman, the reigning king of the welterweights, has responded to the McGregor rumors as if it's all one big joke, mocking the suggestion repeatedly on his social media. At first, he accused those touting the fight of wanting to see a murder scene, before then asking, he said he's gonna do what? With 3 laughing emojis in response to McGregor's claim that he could take down Usman. Despite Usman's attempts at playing down the challenge McGregor represents, Conor remains confident, I know, big shock, that he can become the first ever 3-division world champion in the history of the UFC, intent on adding the welterweight to his long list of accolades, which includes the featherweight and lightweight belts. In McGregor's eyes, Usman has a sloppy style that relies far too much on the jab and lacks any of the dangerous ground and pound skills required to make his grappling game a significant challenge. Usman, meanwhile, has predicted that he'll finish McGregor if the two ever cross paths, making the potential fight a battle between two very assured combatants. Next up, Curtis Blaydes offers Chris Daukaus some friendly advice. American heavyweight Chris Daukaus made a rather impressive start to life in the UFC when the former police officer broke out into the scene in 2020, picking up a strong stoppage victory within the first round of his fight against Parker Porter before going on to achieve similarly decisive wins in his following 3 bouts, earning a Performance of the Night award in the last of that mesmeric run. Unfortunately, the momentum wasn't to last forever, and in December of 2021, he fell to a knockout loss against Derek Lewis, and just recently he made it 2 defeats on the bounce after being stopped by Curtis Blaydes. It's no doubt a development that will frustrate Daukaus after making such an impressive start, but the man who beat him at Fight Night 205 has been quick to offer up his thoughts on how Daukaus can get back to winning ways. I think honestly, no shade, he should probably drop down to light heavyweight, Blaydes told reporters at the post-fight presser on the 26th of March. He went on to assure his fallen opponent that it's okay, declaring that not everyone is a heavyweight, and that Daukaus' skill set would be far better suited to the light heavyweight division, meaning that he should drop back down if he wants to get his UFC career back on track. Blaydes went on to reaffirm that he means no disrespect to Daukaus, but that he doesn't see the American ever being able to defeat the elite heavyweights due to the sheer difference in size and power. This marks a 6th victory in Blaydes' last 7 fights, and in his eyes, that makes him worthy of a shot at the #1 ranked contender in the UFC heavyweight division, Cyril Gane. We can do it anytime this summer, he claimed. June, July, August, I'm down. For Daukaus, of course, the next step for him will be finding some sort of stability and putting a stop to his run of losses, though he isn't allowing the ignominy of back-to-back knockouts to get him down. Taking to Twitter in the aftermath of the fight against Blaydes, Daukaus hit back at the lingering negativity that seems to follow a fighter after a loss, and instead preached his appreciation of those who have reached out to him with positivity in the wake of the defeat. Whether or not he heeds Blaydes' advice is anyone's guess, though it seems unlikely he's going to give up. Moving on, the latest on Covington Masvidal drama. It's quite bizarre and a little sad how bad things have become between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, as the rival welterweights, whose relationship seems so bitterly broken that it cannot even be contained within the confines of the Octagon, actually used to be close friends and teammates before things all went so sour. The pair even lived together during their time as members of the American Top Team, but a falling out eventually led to Covington leaving the gym, and the build to their fight at UFC 272 saw the type of trash talk that you'd expect to see reserved for someone's worst enemy. Covington is generally agreed upon by most of the UFC community as having overstepped the boundaries between the showmanship-focused trash talk that comes with the territory of being a UFC fighter, as he brought Masvidal's children into things. ratings. Covington won the bout, which took place just earlier this month, dominating Masvidal with his grappling and being declared the victor by decision, though, as we would quickly learn, this feud was far from over. Reports broke on the 14th of March that Masvidal had been arrested, with details emerging that he had tracked down Covington's location through social media, eventually pinning his rival down to a steakhouse in Miami. Masvidal then snuck up on his rival and punched him twice in the face, breaking one of his teeth and damaging his Rolex during the brief skirmish. Police arrived on the scene quickly, though not in time to catch Masvidal straight away, with the American taking to social media to post a video taunting his victim. Masvidal was eventually arrested, and Covington has decided to press charges, with a second-degree aggravated battery charge potentially enough to put Masvidal behind bars for a maximum of 15 years. Khabib Nurmagomedov was one amongst many who have offered thoughts on the situation, though very much against the trend, as he criticized Covington for his decision to press charges, claiming that he should have been ready to back up his words after insulting Masvidal's family. Former UFC star Chael Sonnen, who enjoys a positive relationship with Covington, gave a vague insight into how Covington is doing in the aftermath of the attack, summing it up as not good and refusing to provide much further comment on the matter. And finally, Nate Diaz demands release amidst Jake Paul rumors. Rounding off today's episode, Nate Diaz could be edging ever closer to a clash with YouTube star turned boxer Jake Paul. It has been well known for a while that the 36-year-old, who rose to fame after winning the 2007 edition of The Ultimate Fighter, is looking to leave the UFC at the expiration of his current deal, which has just one more fight left on its duration. Diaz is one of the great mainstays of the UFC over the last decade and a half, but hasn't picked up a victory since defeating Anthony Pettis in August of 2019, with his most recent loss being when he was outpointed by Brit Leon Edwards in June of last year. The UFC seems keen on setting up a blockbuster farewell match between Diaz and Dustin Poirier, but despite both fighters also throwing support behind the proposed bout, there has been extremely little movement in actually getting it organized. This crawl towards finally being released from his UFC contract has frustrated Diaz to no end, as he feels there is huge money to be made from boxing Jake Paul and is eager to seize this opportunity before it can be allowed to slip. Taking to Twitter recently, Nate publicly called on UFC President Dana White to release him from his contract, apologizing for making such a demand in public, but noting that he has things to do, and that if the UFC isn't going to get him his last fight as soon as possible, he doesn't want to bother. Jake Paul has offered support for Diaz, calling on the UFC to free Diaz so that the pair can set up what would be a massive boxing clash, following this by making the claim that the potential bout could happen as soon as August. It seems rather unlikely that Dana White will give in to Diaz's demands, considering that Poirier-Diaz represents a pretty big fight for the UFC, though he may want to get a move on with actually organizing it. And that's everything. Do you think Conor McGregor should get a title shot? What do you think of Masvidal attacking Covington? Let us know down in the comments. Until next time, we'll see you soon.